Hello everybody, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to study development of face and the palate. That is the third part of embryology lecture. So if you have not watched the part 1 and part 2, please do watch it and then come to this part. That will make your assumptions and your memory recall very easy. So let's begin with development of face and palate. So before beginning with development of face and palate, as all of you are watching this video, you will get to know the basics about the development of face and palate. As the picture has been inserted for all of you here in the video. So first of all, we have to remember all these names, 11 names that are shown in the diagram. So let's begin. So the as per the labeling, the point 1, this point 1 is our frontonasal process. Okay, this point 2 is our medial nasal process. Okay, the point 3 in the marked in yellow is our lateral nasal, it is our lateral nasal process. Okay, lateral nasal process. Okay, what are the between one is the frontonasal process, the blue one is the medial nasal process, and the yellow one is our lateral nasal process. Okay, the fourth in the green is our maxillary process. Okay, and the fifth one is our mandibular process. In the center between the two medial nasal process is our frontonasal process. Opposite to the medial nasal process we have the lateral nasal process. Below it we have our maxillary process and the mandibular processes. Okay, now what happened in the sixth diagram shown, there will be the fusion. This is our lateral nasal process and this is our maxillary process. Okay, here it is shown the lateral nasal process fused with maxillary process, fusion of lateral nasal process with maxillary process. And here only I am telling you, if the fusion between the lateral nasal process and the maxillary process not develops, as you can see in the diagram that it is somewhat like this is oblique, there is an oblique condition. If this fusion not happens, then there will be the formation of oblique facial cleft. You can go and search in the Google the diagram for the oblique facial cleft, but I have made you understand that in this diagram, if the lateral nasal process and the maxillary process don't fuse together, they will form the oblique facial cleft. Okay, now what is our seventh diagram? This small two openings on the either side is our nasal pits. Okay, now what is the eighth one? Eighth one is our fusion of medial nasal process along with the maxillary process. Okay, like I have mentioned, this blue one is the medial nasal process and this green one is the maxillary process. Here these two are joining, so this eighth one is showing, this eighth one is showing fusion of medial nasal process along with maxillary process. Okay, if they don't fuse together, what will happen? Just like the oblique facial cleft, there is another cleft that will be formed. Okay, now what are the structures another mark? That's again ninth shows the fusion of the two processes of Like here the mandible processes were divided. Here in the ninth we have fusion of two mandibular processes. Okay, and in the case of 10th, what happens? Here there is intermaxillary processes, that is the fused medial nasal processes. Like here they were divided into two. Here the medial nasal processes formed single. So fusion of two medial nasal processes, that is called as intermaxillary process. And this below it is the philtrum of the nose that we can feel above to our lip. When we touch our finger above to the lip, there is a depression area below to the nose and above to the lip, that is called as philtrum. So we will study all of these enamel structures again for an easy understanding. Between the two area of the medial nasal process is our frontal nasal process. Okay, this blue structure is the medial nasal process and opposite to it is our lateral nasal process. Below the lateral nasal process in the green, it is a maxillary process, and the two in the pink divided structure are the mandibular processes. Lateral nasal process here fuses with maxillary process, but if this fusion is not formed, it can lead to the formation of oblique facial cleft. Okay, then there will be the formation of nasal pits in the 7th figure, and then in the 8th figure there will be the fusion of medial nasal process and maxillary process. Okay, and below to it the two mandibular processes also fuse together. And in the last diagram there is the formation of philtrum along with the fusion of two medial nasal process that will lead to the formation of intermaxillary processes. Okay, so next I will mention you about what are the ages in weeks when these things happen. Age in weeks. At the 4th week we will have our frontonasal process, our maxillary process, and our mandibular process. At the 5th week we have our nasal pits. Okay, at our 6th week we have our pinna, that is the air opening. The small lobule that you can feel downward at the air is called the pinna. And we can see the palatal process arising from maxillary process. From maxillary process. Okay, now at the 7th week there will be the formation of eyelid, and the maxillary process will fuse with medial nasal process. Okay, at the 8th week our eye that is placed at the ear region will shift from lateral to frontal region, that is from the region of ear to the region where the eye is actually present, that is in the frontal region. Okay, at the 10th week there will be the fusion of palatal process and the nasal septum fuse with each other, that is the intermaxillary process. Okay, now we will study all of it again so as to make your understanding of the concept easy. Just by looking at the diagram, at the 4th week these three are the 4th week, that is the frontonasal process, maxillary process, and the mandibular process are formed. Okay, so at the 5th week we have our nasal pits. In the 6th week we have our ear, that is the pinna, and the palatal process fuses with the maxillary process. At the 7th week we have the eyelid. This is at the 7th week. 7th week maxillary process fuses with medial nasal process. At the 8th week the eye that are present laterally in the region of ear will move forward in the frontal region where the eyes are normally present, and at the 10th week there will be the fusion of palatal process along with the nasal septum. So 4th week, 5th week, 6th week, 7th week, 8th week and 10th week. 4th week is just three things: frontal nasal process, maxillary process and the mandibular process. At the 5th week we have the nasal pits. At the 6th week we have the maxillary process fusing with medial nasal pinna. At the 6th week we have just pinna, and the palatal processes arising from maxillary process. I just also got a little bit confused here, so you have to remember 6th week. 7th week is the maxillary process fusing with medial nasal process along with eyelid. 8th week is the movement of eyelid from the lateral to the frontal position. At the 10th week is the palatal process along with the nasal septum. Okay. 4th and 5th week are very simple. For the 6th week you have to remember about the palatal process and the pinna, two P's. Okay. 7th week is just easy again, and 8th week and 10th you can remember. So all of this you have to remember well. So before learning the age in weeks, you have to get to know about what are there is a maxillary process, frontal nasal process, all of these. Okay, this maxillary process will further form in the future, that is our maxilla, and the mandibular process in the future will form our mandible. So it is very important for all of you to get through this. If you have understood anything, you are liking my video, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.